Tonight it's my pleasure to get to introduce to you Fatou Jallow. She's with the School of Medicine and Public Health. She was born in Banjul, the Gambia, or as she pronounces it, Banjul, the Gambia. Can you take the knife out of my back, please? Then she graduated from Edna Carr Magnet High School in New Orleans, Louisiana, and went to Dillard University in New Orleans and studied biology. Then she came to the University of Wisconsin-Madison and got her PhD in December of 2017. Yeah. They're nice to you. Her PhD was in endocrinology and reproductive physiology, and then on February 2018 of this year, she started working with the All of Us program here at UW-Madison, which is part of a national program. So looking forward to hearing about this. There's a lot of intersections of environment and physiology and genetics and what it's going to mean for precision medicine and being able to tailor treatments to each and every one of us. How we're going to do that's going to be pretty interesting. So would you please join me in welcoming Fatou Jallow to Wednesday Night at the Lab.
Thanks, Sam, for inviting me and for you guys for being here today. So I'm going to talk about the All of Us research program, which is an NIH National Institutes of Health initiative to study precision medicine. So precision medicine is an emerging term where we're looking at disease treatment and prevention, and it takes into account individual variabilities such as genes, environment, and lifestyle for each person. It basically acknowledges that we're all unique, our habits, our environment, and our biology, and takes these factors into consideration when we are being treated for different diseases. And because we're all unique, when we're all treated the same way, we don't respond to treatment the same way. And so this allows doctors and researchers to more accurately predict treatment and prevention strategies rather than using the cookie cutter or one-size-fits-all approach when it comes to treating people. So the term precision medicine, it's a new term, but the concept itself has been around for decades. For instance, when it comes to blood transfusions, you don't just get any blood, right? Doctors make sure that they match you with the right blood type. So the idea has been around for a while, but the term precision medicine itself and getting down to the genetics of it is brand new. For pharmacogenomics, which is the study of how genes interact with how we respond to drugs, is also a part of precision medicine. And like I said a little bit ago, when we're all sick, we're all pretty much treated the same way right now, where we all get the same kind of treatment, and some of us don't respond to treatment. So precision medicine basically aims to tailor treatment to each individual, taking into account those individual differences, such as our genes, our exposures in life, and also our daily activities, what we eat, how much we exercise, those kind of things. Those are all taken into account when being treated. Precision medicine in cancer treatment. So treatments are tailored based on the genetic makeup of the tumor. So this is actually being done more now today. However, for most people, when you're diagnosed with cancer, basically you're treated the same way as someone who has the same cancer or same stage as cancer. And so some of us will respond and some of us won't. And the traditional therapy is basically surgery, chemotherapy, or radiation, or a combination of those. Whereas with precision medicine, doctors can take a biopsy of the tumor, do DNA sequencing, and then can do targeted therapy based on the genetics of the tumor itself. Because we've come to learn that tumors can basically change their genetics, right, and can grow and spread based on that. And even two people with the same kind of cancer may not have the same kind of genetics within that tumor. So that's why it's so important to do the genetic testing and DNA sequencing, and then it can be targeted for each individual. And those kind of treatments are not routine today. It's only for some cancers like breast and lung cancer. And that's where the precision medicine initiative comes in. In his 2015 State of the Union, President Obama announced the launch of Precision Medicine Initiative, which will generate the scientific evidence needed to move the concept of precision medicine into clinical practice. So basically helping us understand why some people or groups respond to one treatment more than others, and also can help medical professions make better choices when it comes to treating patients. And their mission is to enable a new era of medicine through research, technology, and policies that empower patients, researchers, and providers to work together toward development of individualized care. So now seems like a good time to do this. We've sequenced the human genome. There are improved technologies for biomedical analyses, and there's also advances in precision medicine that have basically led to powerful new discoveries and several new treatments that are tailored to patients, especially, like I said, people with breast cancer or lung cancer. So the All of Us research program is part of the Precision Medicine Initiative. And this is a very ambitious program. We are looking to recruit at least 1 million people nationwide. It is a large research program. And basically, it will help us understand why it is that some people get sick and other people stay healthy. It is a longitudinal study. It will go on for at least 10 years. So participation in the All of Us research program is open to interested individuals. You have to be at least 18 years old right now and be able to consent. Eventually, we'll start recruiting kids, hopefully next year. And the program will reflect the rich diversity of the U.S. Participants are considered partners in the program. Trust will be earned through robust engagement and full transparency. And participants will have access to the information and data about themselves, like researchers will share this with them. And the data from the program will be accessible. We will allow researchers to register with All of Us and apply to use the samples to do their own research. The program will adhere to the Precision Medicine Initiative Privacy and Trust Principles and the PMI Data Security Policy Principles and Framework. The program will also be a catalyst for innovative research programs and policies. So we want this program to look like the community in the US. So NIH mandates that All of Us research program gets at least 40% underrepresented population in the program. So NIH already has a policy that whoever does clinical research should follow this, but there's no oversight. So this is the first program where we are actually mandated and we are being watched over by NIH to make sure that we have 40% underrepresented, which means people of color, LGBTQ, 65 years old and older, people with disabilities, and people from the rural community. So because these are people that don't typically participate in research. So, I mean, when I say they are watching us, they're really watching us to make sure we're meeting this 40% goal. And this is not a study about disease. We want everyone, especially healthy people, you want to know what normal looks like in order to know what the disease is. And we collect a lot of different data types. We ask participants to do surveys. We collect physical measurements like your blood pressure, your height, your weight, waist and hip circumference. And we're also, like I said, going into areas that don't typically participate in research, such as rural communities. Participants in the All of Us research program are true partners. They're not considered patients or subjects in the research. In fact, since the program has started, NIH has had several face-to-face meetings where they've invited participants to be involved in this process, where they've been involved in what data is collected, what lab analyses will be done, and what research will be conducted, and how, what kind of data they want given back to them. So participants, I think since we launched in May, there's been at least 2 or 3 of these face-to-face meetings with different participants giving their input. The data sharing is a priority to both researchers and participants. Participants will have access to study information and data about themselves. The data collection it has started small. Like we've collected physical measurements, like I said, the blood pressure, height, weight, and blood and urine. But as time goes, we'll collect more. One thing that we will be launching soon is collecting data from participants that have the Fitbit. In fact, NIH is also working with other companies that can create these Fitbits that we can give to participants so they can share the data back with us. Privacy and security will adhere to the highest standards, and NIH has invested to level the playing field for diverse researchers as well. So the program has started collecting, like I said, a limited set of standardized data from sources that include the participant surveys. We ask participants to go online and fill out surveys about their health, their lifestyle, family history. We also ask for electronic health records, which is basically how doctors, they don't keep paper files of this anymore. So we ask to have access to that because that gives us a fuller picture of what your health really looks like. We also do the physical measurements, like I said, the height, weight, etc. And also we collect blood and urine. And we also ask about your environmental exposures, where you live, what foods you eat, those kind of things. And again, as we collect more data, this will grow and it will evolve with science, technology, and trust. So how do we protect your data? So this is something that obviously comes up a lot. We're asking a lot from you. We're asking you a lot of personal questions. And how do we protect this once you give it to us? So the information we collect is stored in protected computers. We limit and keep track of who sees the information. And everything is de-identified. We remove your name and your date of birth or address, those kind of things, and just replace it with a number. And also, we've been given certificates of confidentiality, which basically means that we cannot be subpoenaed to identify who participants are. But there's still a loss of privacy risk, right? Nothing is 100%. So even without your name, someone can go in, there could be a breach. So we just want you to know that we think it's a small chance of it happening, but it's likely to happen. It's not zero. So how is all of us different from other clinical trials? So this research program, we're not looking at one specific disease or one population. The All of Us research program will serve as a national research resource to inform thousands of studies covering a wide variety of health conditions. The All of Us research program also aims to build one of the largest health databases of its kind. As the volume grows, so will the data, and we can begin to see patterns emerge that will not be visible at a smaller scale. All of Us also aims to make it easy for researchers to make discoveries using data and biosamples that are collected through the program. So what are the benefits of Precision Medicine Initiative to participants? Well, first is the return of data. Whatever is discovered with that participant, it will be shared back to them if they want that information. The project can also help engage participants to make better health choices, and also the opportunity to ensure that your community is included in studies that may lead to new discoveries. For instance, as I mentioned earlier, we're mandated to have at least 40% underrepresented, and for me, it's important for African Americans to be part of it. African Americans have the highest rate of heart disease, diabetes, hypertension, and we're not most of the time asked to be part of clinical trials. So a lot of the treatments that are out there don't necessarily work for us. One of the reasons I got into doing this kind of work is because my former lab, we did breast cancer research. And the most common type of breast cancer is estrogen receptor alpha positive breast cancer. And it usually occurs in postmenopausal Caucasian women. However, when African American women get this kind of cancer, they get it much younger, like in their 30s. And then they're more likely to die from it, even though they're not likely to get the disease. When they do get it, they'll likely die from the disease. So for me, it is very important for my community to be part of this and to be asked to join this study. So benefits of Precision Medicine Initiative. Like I said, there'll be new approaches for protecting research participants. This is a new kind of study, so we're gonna learn a lot from this study. I mean, it is big data, right? Like 1 million plus participants. So from this study, we can learn a lot for future studies. We can design new tools for building, analyzing, and sharing such large data sets with researchers. We can also help with FDA oversight to test drugs and technologies that are effective and safe for everyone. We can also make new partnerships with scientists. And it's not, with this program, like I said, we are opening up for scientists to apply and take part in this study, but we're also opening it up worldwide. Like researchers outside the US will also be able to, because in the US we don't do all kinds of tests, right? There are other countries that are doing more than we are, so we open it up to everyone and then they can run some tests that we don't necessarily run here. And it's also an opportunity for 1 million people to contribute to the advancement of scientific research and to be part of this movement that is now taking place in this country. So some of the challenges facing Precision Medicine Initiative is that, like I said, it's a growing field. Some of these technologies are just being developed or have not even been discovered yet. So as I said, it's growing and we're learning as we're going. There are also some ethical, social, and legal issues. Like I said, the data part of it is very big for us, that privacy. So as we always say, it's not 100%, but we do take very good care of your data. There are multiple layers of protection. The information that we get from you are housed differently. For instance, when we collect biosamples, those are housed over at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota. The EHR data, that's housed over at Vanderbilt, and there's no cross between them. There is a master list somewhere that only few people will have access to, but still it is not 100%. Also, consent is very important for participants to know what they're getting into, right? It's important for them to read and understand what the purpose of this research is before they get into it. So consent is very important. And something that I always think about is the data sharing. So one thing with the face-to-face meetings that we have with participants, one of the things they wanted was return of information, which is fine. It's your data, right? You gave us the samples, so we should be able to give it back to you. But my concern with the genetic testing, and the reason I have this concern is because my husband was born with congenital heart defect. And he also he's a sickle cell carrier. So when I was 5 months pregnant, like we were really scared, like what's gonna happen to our son? Is he gonna have these same issues? And we had to have genetic counseling. It was a very stressful time. So the data sharing, for me, we need a way to roll it out to participants. You can't just give it to them. We have to be sure that for those that want it, because we've had participants that have said that they don't want to see what the data shows. But there are participants that, of course, we want to see it, and we need to be careful how we get this information back to participants. And the cost, it's very expensive. So in 2016, when this was first approved by Congress, they approved it with $215 million. And that was just for the first 3 years. And we've been lucky with the new administration that we were given more funding for the next 5 years. So it is a very expensive study. And those are just some of the, a couple of things that I thought about with the challenges facing this program. And I don't know if this is going to play. No. Okay. And I just wanted to play this for you guys, if it will. I want to play it, so. The music is a little cheesy,
one
but...
nation, one people. When called upon to give from within, we come together and find that our capacity to help others is limitless. Here, we are fearless. What lies inside all of us is more than data. It's life. It's more than insight and medical research. It's vision and honor and compassion. What's flowing through America's veins is its diversity. The next great breakthrough will be found in each and every one of us. And what we find there will unlock mysteries, heal the sick, and eradicate disease. We ask for 1 million individuals to come forward and stand on this landmark in history. We ask America to do, once again, what she has always done. Lead the way forward. We're one nation, one people, but all of us are different. And it's those very differences that will lead to answers for generations to come.
I just wanted to play it. So how can you join the All of Us research program? You go to joinallofus.org. We ask you to register. You do need an email address to be part of it. We ask you to watch a series of videos that basically talk about the program. They're reasonably short. I think the longest one is like 2 minutes, but it's a series of them. We ask for consent, general consent, to take part in the study. We ask you to fill out some surveys about your health, your lifestyle, your family history. And we also ask for electronic health record. And if you decline the electronic health to give us access to your electronic health record, this is it for you. This is where you stop. And you don't go further. Because it gives us a fuller picture of health. And so once you've agreed to give us access to your electronic health record, we do the in-person visit, where we do the physical measurement. And I've gone through all of these, so if you guys have any questions, you can ask. We do physical measurements like the height, the weight, the blood pressure, the weight, and the waist and hips circumference. And we also collect blood and urine. When they were I have really tiny veins, so even when I go to the doctor, sometimes they have to use my feet because it just doesn't work. So I ended up just doing saliva, so you don't have to give blood if you're uncomfortable with the needle. And then you get $25 at the end, and I think that covered my coffee for a week. I mean, it's not, it's not much. And just a little bit more information. So with the All of Us Wisconsin Consortium, we are partnered with Marshfield, the Blood Center of Wisconsin in Milwaukee, and MCW in Milwaukee. And the 4 of us make up the Wisconsin Consortium. And we are mandated to recruit 100,000 people here in Wisconsin. We're doing pretty good. When I left today, obviously I checked since I was coming here, we were at 3,333 participants for Wisconsin. So we're doing pretty okay, because we launched in, Marshfield started in March, and I think we started in April, and then FCW like a month later. So, and there's also California, Illinois, New England, New York, Southern All of Us Network, which is Mississippi and Alabama, Southeast, which is Georgia and Florida, Trans-America, which is mostly Michigan and other areas. Arizona was the first to get started, so they're doing they're like the gold standard. Like everyone wants to be like Arizona. They're doing really well, and Pittsburgh. So those are like the 10 main sites. And so we do have program partners. Like I said, for the biobank, everything is housed at Mayo Clinic in Rochester. And also we do have people that help us get the word out there in different communities. We also have the Data and Research Center, such as Vanderbilt, the healthcare providers, us, and we've also started partnering with places like CVS and Walgreens to be able to recruit. There are also participant centers. We have an app, so participants can go online on the app and just get the information that they need. And also the genome centers that will be doing the genetic testing. So nationwide right now, so these numbers came out. We got it on Monday, so as of last week, we have 144,528 participants total nationwide. Of those numbers, a little over 119,000 have consented, meaning that, so these guys basically just, they've registered and gotten a password, right? And of those guys, 119,000 of them have consented to both general consent and EHR and have done the surveys at least. And then, so full participation means you've done all the online portion, the surveys, the consenting, and also you've come in for the in-person visit. You've gotten your blood drawn, we've done the physical measurements, and of that 119, it's over 82,000. And just last week alone, we enrolled over 1,000 people who are full participants. And that's it. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. I might not have all the answers today, but I will do my best. Yes?
Once a person joins, how often do they have like annual follow-ups? Or, I mean, presumably you want to identify if they develop medical problems.
Right. So what happens once a person joins, how many visits? So the in-person visit is just one time. We collect when we do the collection of blood and urine. However, the online portion is periodic. They are always sending, not always, like every few months they'll send out new surveys for participants to fill out. But we also have access to your electronic health record. So as things happen, we'll also be seeing that too. But the in-person visit is just one time. Now, let's say researchers once they start using these samples, they come across something really interesting with this one sample, and we run out of it. We could ask you for more, but it's up to you if you want to give it or not.
As far as blood work, is it more, you do like a genome and any more kind of quote-unquote unusual blood works other than what you would normally get, like routine chemistries? Do you get any unusual ones, like hormone levels or something like that?
So what kind of tests will be done with the blood work? So all of those decisions haven't been made yet. There will be genomic testing. There's even talk about doing the ancestry stuff because participants really want that information back. But as far as everything that will be done, we haven't made all those decisions yet. It also depends on, I guess, the researchers, what kind of diseases they want to study specifically. There's so many hands.
Given this is voluntary, how are you going to ensure that you've got the diversity that you need to do a reasonable study?
Robust engagement. We have to engage participants, be transparent. That's really, I mean, it is voluntary, but that's all we can do. Engage participants, hope that they become part of the study. We've been, as far as with the African-American community, we have been engaging them. We've been going to events that they've been part of. We have champions for the program that can talk about it with different organizations within the African-American community. But it's mostly going to be just robust engagement and transparency. And we're doing pretty well with the 40% too. Yes?
You mentioned diversity. Does that also involve diversity of health situations? I mean, do you want people who have existing conditions to be added to this as well as those with none?
Yeah, we want everyone, whether you have hypertension or you don't have anything. We want all people, not just race and ethnicity, but yeah.
But I'm talking about serious issues, cancer.
Yeah, we have participants now that were referred by their oncologists that have cancer, so yeah, we do. Yes.
So over time, presumably, the research will reveal solutions and specific treatments for specific people with specific attributes. So who owns those discoveries?
Good question. As of right now, it's all NIH. The U.S. government will own that data. So because researchers, I don't know that everything has been kind of laid out yet. First of all, researchers haven't started using these samples yet. Right now, we've just been collecting samples for the first 5 years, and I'm not sure when researchers will get to start applying to use this data, but yeah, NIH owns it right now.
I would imagine that it would get pretty tangled with pharmaceutical companies being involved in their profit-driven business models. Research professors at universities, obviously wanting to benefit from their knowledge.
Right.
And so that seems like a pretty big question that would need to be really clearly.
Right, and that's questions that we've gotten in the past doing these same kind of talks, but it hasn't been ironed out yet. As far as I know, right now, NIH owns the data as when researchers, and that may be why it hasn't reached that phase yet, because they're trying to figure out that part of it. Yes.
A trailer to that question is, so when I sign off on it, what guarantee do I have that my information will not be shared with a for-profit entity?
So we're not sharing information with, you mean your identity or just?
No, not my identity, the information collected about that.
I don't know that yet, to be honest with you. I don't know that it will not be given to pharmaceutical companies that want to do research because you have samples that are really interesting. Like, I don't know that yet.
But it would be anonymous, wouldn't it?
Yeah, right. They wouldn't know who it is.
Exactly.
Yeah,
but
right.
I guess I'm saying as a person, I'm not interested in
your samples be
contributing
right.
and having a federal agency and NIH then in turn over that information to a for-profit entity so that they in turn can make money off of the data that has been collected.
Off of you.
Off of me, exactly.
Right.
Off of me.
Right. I understand what you're saying, even though we don't know that it's you. I understand what you're saying, but we haven't, like I said, gotten to that part yet. Or it may be that I'm not in the room when those discussions are happening. Yes.
Along that same line, you seem to imply that this is still in a working stage of development. What IRB is overseeing this then? And
Multiple.
Will this change in the study design? Will that have to go back to the IRB?
Yes, so there are multiple IRBs involved, which is good and bad. So we have our own IRB here at UW, and also ultimately everything's get approved at the national level. So even if Wisconsin approves something, it has to get approved at the national level, and it takes months. It takes a while.
What is an IRB?
Institutional Review Board. They're the ones that kind of have oversight over the program. Every institute has one.
And can you explain more about the IRB, what qualities they're looking for, what they approve or don't approve on?
So, well, it depends on what we're asking for. I mean, this is a different kind of program in that when we were approved, like NIH has oversight over everything. I gave this presentation a few weeks ago. Like they have to approve this presentation before we can give it. Like they have oversight over everything. They have to approve it before we can do anything.
But an IRB is for privacy concerns and what do you call that? Informed consent.
Right.
And those ethical and legal issues.
Yes. Right. They have oversight over those.
But is there any citizen overview of IRBs in general? These are sort of black holes.
Say that again, please.
Is there any citizen oversight over IRBs? Is there any real transparency? Who's on them? how do they get there, who elected them? Because IRBs are sort of black holes in science.
So there's some, I don't know about the national IRB, but some IRBs will have normal citizens on their board.
But what about the national IRB?
That I don't know.
You don't know if there's any citizen involved?
No, I don't know if the participants themselves are involved or just non-scientists or non-NIH employees are part of it. Yes.
My follow-up question was, who has access to the master list?
Not me. Only a few people. I'm not sure exactly who these few people are, but yeah, it's not like a lot. I'm not sure.
And presumably it's kept offline. It's not in a place
where it can be hacked, and yeah, I'm not sure. Yeah.
Should someone withdraw?
And I will say also, NIH has hired like hackers to try to hack into the system, and they haven't succeeded as far as I know. So we do have that going. Like we fired people to try to break into the system. Let me get him because his hand's been up for a while.
I have a question of, are you taking any non-human DNA for a biome study? Of the human biome, community biome.
Are we taking non-human?
Yeah, non-human DNA for a biomic study. Microbiome.
Oh, because they would have to biopsy, right?
No, just human skin biome.
Oh, no, we're not doing that. We're just, no. As far as I know, again, you're asking questions that I didn't even think about. So as far as I know, we're not doing that.
I haven't seen anything on the website saying that that's what they were collecting. Okay. That's solid.
Yes.
If during the course of the study, someone wants to withdraw, most especially access to their electronic health record, how is that?
So once you withdraw from the program, we stop using all your information. We don't have access to the EHR records anymore. But if researchers have already started using your samples, like we can't get those back. But whatever we have in store, we won't use anymore. We'll get rid of it. It depends. There are some cultures that have like a ceremonial kind of thing that we will have to go through to get rid of the samples. But yeah, we won't use it anymore. Yes?
So when you sign up for the program, does the program then have access to your electronic medical record for the rest of your life? Or is it just a one-time access?
No, we have access to it for the rest of your life unless you withdraw as a participant.
But I mean future, like say if I develop cancer in 5 years, will they be able to see my
Yes.
electronic? Okay.
Yeah, we will be able to see that.
Okay.
Yes.
In your presentation, you had a slide that showed the various institutions that are currently participating in this study.
Mm-hmm.
Is the goal to continue to sign up even more and more? I mean, I noticed that there's Arizona, Illinois, Wisconsin, several others, I think maybe New York. Are you trying to get institutions in all 50 states, and then also in other countries, like is Europe at all going to join in on any of this and coordinate? Japan, other developed countries? How big is this going to go?
Again, I'm not in the room when those discussions are happening, but there are still places within the U.S. that are launching periodically. So I don't know about outside of the U.S., but within the U.S., not necessarily all 50 states, but I think right now we have a lot of locations on the East Coast, and we're probably going to try to get more on the West Coast. Yeah.
How are you going to handle electronic medical records that may not be linked or pre-electronic medical records? So if you pick up somebody like myself, who's in my 70s, I certainly had a good part of my medical life without electronic records.
Or even me, I wasn't born in this country, right? So yeah, those are questions that we ask. Even here, when we recruit students, there are a lot of international students, and we don't have access to their medical records that are outside of here. So I'm not sure how NIH is gonna handle that. Like I said, we will be allowing other researchers to take part in the study outside of the US. And I don't know if that means then are we gonna collaborate with those countries to try to get health records from participants there? Like for international students that are here and, you know, like I'm not sure. But that is a question that has come up, especially from me, because my parents, for instance, they haven't been here in this country that long. Most of their life has been in Gambia, and everything they've gone through is there. So that has been an important question for me as well. Yeah.
Can you say a little bit about the history of the program and about the organizational structure? Like, who's actually in charge of this whole thing? You've made references to NIH.
Mm-hmm.
Is there like one person who's like the chairman of the whole thing?
Yeah. The director is Dish. That's his. So when you Google, or I mean YouTube, right? Sorry. So this guy, Eric Dishman. So he's the director of the whole thing. He is periodically on YouTube giving updates, I think, every once in a while. So he's the one that's in. That's in.
I mean, is he part of NIH or just part of this?
I think he is part of another institution, but is working under NIH for this program. Yeah. Yes.
You wanted the diversity that reflects the actual population, but a lot of groups are very reluctant to get buy-in.
Yeah.
A number of years ago we had a low-dose CT scan for a study for long-term smokers, and they were recruiting all the physicists in all the hospitals. Please see if we couldn't get some of our, for instance, Native American population, and we could not. And so, are you going to have like quotas when you get enough people of, say, certain ages and Caucasian or ethnic mixes? Maybe you get enough African Americans of various ethnic. Are you going to have like a quota? You've already got your 40% or whatever.
And like we've got 40%, let's stop there.
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we're gonna try to get just as many. I mean, the richer the data is, the better it is, right? So, but you're right that there are a lot of hesitation when it comes to certain groups. I've encountered it, especially with Native Americans and African Americans. They're very hesitant when it comes to doing research with the US government. And I mean, a lot of us can understand why. So like I said, we are trying transparency, being honest, and seeing how that goes.
Now, that whole question is this is your director's
yes.
National website that I'm looking at right now. Because building bridges of trust, white community relationships are vital to all of us. They're talking about the historical, embracing the history, warts and all, and so it's a really pressing issue to try to get a representative sample.
Right. Yes.
I think you mentioned that this is a 5-year accumulating data phase?
Yeah, the first 5 years is recruitment.
So is your funding for 5 years, or that's a year by year?
So, well, kind of two questions, but so, right, we just got approved for 5 more years, but you also have to meet your goals to stay in, and each site is different. Right now we're doing okay. We're not in trouble yet, but you have to meet your goals in order to stay with the funding. Like, you will continue to get funding if you're doing well. If you're not doing any recruiting, I mean, you're not going to get money. Yes.
I'm interested in the idea of a participant getting to see their own information. I know how much I weigh and how big my waist is. Those things I would put in. I also know what my medical history is. So what else might be in the information you're collecting about me that would maybe be new to me?
The genetic testing is one thing, and I don't exactly know, well, not me, but NIH doesn't know everything that will be done with the samples. But genetic testing for sure is one thing that I know we will be doing, and that's something that you can get back.
And do you anticipate a provision of the study being, for instance, if you discover something about me that you think I should know, would you share that with me?
Yeah, we would share that with you, but if you want to know it, yeah, we will share everything with you.
And how unusual is this for a study participant to get feedback? Because any study that I have participated in or that I'm familiar with, they've actually done a lot more invasive things than what you're asking for, and you don't know anything.
Right.
You don't even know if you're getting a placebo or the real deal.
Right.
So how unusual is this?
So, right, so this is one of the big differences with the All of Us research study, and this was also part of the face-to-face with participants. They wanted information back. So I don't know of any other studies or clinical trials that are doing that, but with the All of Us research program, we are going to give data back if you want it. Because like I said, we have come across participants that don't want it. So as long as you want it, it's accessible to you. What's important to me is how we give it back to participants. Yeah.
Is there, because the medical records are being done by several different companies, obviously we have one here in Madison or Verona, is there direct contact with these electronic records companies in order to ensure that you can get their records? Because I would suspect there's substantial differences even in implementation across the different hospitals and certainly different application systems.
Yeah, so each site is going to be required to do their own. For us, we are working with Epic to be able to get this from them once participants have given us access to it. Not just with, because some of the questions we've gotten is that a lot of participants think you have to be part of UW Health Systems, but you can be part of Dean, Merida, or whoever. As long as you're in Wisconsin, we should be able to get the electronic health record. Yeah.
How often do you take information from the electronic health medical record? I'm not sure if I'm understanding it correctly. Is it like on a monthly basis, or every time you go to the doctor, you will send the new information to the NIH?
No.
NIS? Sorry.
No. So since we've launched in May, I think they've collected it once. In Wisconsin, I'm not sure about other sites, but for us, we've collected it once. So, but I'm not sure how often. So it's not easy to collect this either. So we have people working on it. Bioinformatics, I think they're called. I'm not sure, but we have people working on it that are trying to figure out the best way to extract the data from Epic or whoever else has it. So we've, as far as I know, in Wisconsin, since we've launched, we've only done it once, and yeah, we have people, because it's not that easy, right? It's a lot of people, even at 3,300. That's a lot of data to collect. Yes.
On the website, can you ask questions about this program?
On the website, I'm not sure if there's like a live chat, but there is a number on there that you can call to talk to someone. I'm sure you can send, like, there's an email too that you can send, but I'm not sure about a live.
Questions you can
Yeah. Even here in Wisconsin, we have a number and an email address that you can call if you want to talk to someone here. And National also has its own. Yeah, so you can always talk to someone.
There's a 800 number that's open from 7 in the morning to 10 p.m. Eastern time. And
do they have an FAQ?
There's also an FAQ page on the website. Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I just read the FAQ, and you guys are far beyond what the FAQ. Fatou took care of everything that's on the FAQ.
Oh, great.
But these are really in-depth questions, which are great, and thanks for asking. But
I was just curious about that.
that's why you asked the question. So there isn't a chat, but there is you can talk to somebody live, and you should call them up.
Wait, she has a question.
Yeah, highly stigmatizing information would be found in the online records, like illegal drug use and AIDS, things like that. Are your questionnaires going to also probe psychosocial questions and drug use and things like that? Will there be stigmatizing information sought through the questionnaires?
Yeah, I've done the surveys. There's some questions in there like, have you used recreational drugs, and they're in there. I don't remember anything in there about AIDS or HIV, but they do ask about drug use. If you've done it, I think it's mostly
drinking habits.
They do ask about drinking habits. Yes. But this information isn't shared, and like I said, it's de-identified. I understand some people would feel uncomfortable, but we wouldn't know who is answering those questions. Right.
That's why the master list is important.
Right.
Holds the coding.
Right.
Or the institution.
Of course. Yeah. Do you have a question?
Well, I was wondering, what are let's say qualifications of the person who you're going to be talking with on the phone? Are they genetic counselors?
No, they are not.
What if you feel you need a genetic counselor?
Well, yeah, so that's...
Gene is identified, 10 years from now.
Right.
Oh, I have this gene, and now you're dealing with a lot of probabilities and uncertainties and risks and benefits.
Mm-hmm. So once they start doing research on this data, they may do that. As for right now, that which is one of my concerns that I raised with the genetic testing. We need to find a way to properly give this information back to participants. I was lucky with me and my husband. We had a genetic counselor in the room with us telling us everything we needed to know and answering our questions. And I don't necessarily know that that's how NIH is going to do it with participants. If we get 1 million people or more, exactly, how are they going to roll this out? So I don't know that the person, if it's going to be through a phone, I have no idea. Trust me, this is a question that I've asked multiple times on the phone and haven't gotten an answer to yet.
So Fatou, I just called the toll-free number.
Okay.
And
thanks, Tom.
The recording comes on. But wait, it's better. If you want English, you press 1. If you want Spanish, you press 2. I pressed 1, and I just talked to Tammy live.
You talked to who?
Tammy,
okay.
Tammy.
I don't know who Tammy is.
I don't know who Tammy is either.
Yeah.
But it was a real live person. I was trying to get her on speakerphone so she could say hello.
Oh, okay.
So that addresses your question. There's not a chat room, but there is a live person on the 800, and that's pretty rare. And it only took 15 seconds to get through to Tammy.
Oh, well, good. I'm glad that happened while I was here. Yeah.
So there are probably many other studies, but the only one that I'm familiar with that was large scale was the Framingham Heart Study. And that just studied one disease component and associated it with lifestyle, overall well-being, and so on. This seems so huge. Mm-hmm. How on earth are you ever going to be able to get your stats down to something that's meaningful? There were a lot of problems with the Framingham study, but it did come out with the same guidelines that we all work with today. Mm-hmm. Maintain a proper weight, your blood pressure,
I don't know.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is, again, we'll learn a lot from it. We will. We're going to have to learn how to do this the right way. But as of right now, I don't know. Yes?
As the program develops, can it be structured in such a way that people who do participate as one of the million or many millions of people who you hope will participate, can it be structured in such a way as things are discovered and invented and developed for treatments, can the people whose genomes or blood or whatever that help lead to that discovery, or in fact was allowed the discovery to happen, can they share in the in the economic benefit that ultimately will come to the pharma companies
like monetary? Monetary?
Yeah, why not?
I mean, I can't make that decision. Like, I have no.
But can the program be developed in such a way that the people can share the benefit just as a pharmaceutical company could or a university could?
You can talk to Eric Dishman, but I doubt it. You had a question?
Yeah. So I actually have two questions. So first was like, when and what type of researchers would be eligible to request those data to do analysis? I'm assuming you're hosting the data and the sample, so people have like researchers with particular interest of some different aspects of diseases or like health concerns will like to use the data for analysis and stuff. Like when the researchers can request that, and what type of researchers can.
So researchers have to apply first to use it. They have to go through some ethical training. They have to make certain promises and sign certain forms, because we don't want them to try to find out who the participant is either. So there's going to be a rigorous procedure to get researchers to allow researchers to use the samples. Is that your question?
Yeah, or like, yeah.
But as far as what particular scientists you're saying, researchers, I'm not, it depends who's interested. Like, I don't know. And it may be that some scientists are interested in doing research that NIH hasn't approved. And so just because of that, then, you can't be a part of it because we're not looking at that kind of research.
Oh, so it's also like within NIH scopes.
Right, but NIH hasn't defined that scope yet either.
And I guess second one is maybe aligned with some of the questions. So would participants be notified if their data or samples being used in some sort of studies?
Right. So when your samples are starting to be used, you will be notified that your samples are being used. Yes.
Are there any other countries that have tried to do this same at this scale?
I think so, but I'm not sure, but I think so. I know even within the U.S. there are some private companies that are doing it. Kaiser, for instance, Kaiser Permanente, they're doing it. But as far as outside the U.S., I think there are other countries, but I can't think of them right now. Yeah.
Well, someone mentioned the Framingham Heart Study that also collected social network information that they correlated with health. Are you going to correlate any social networks with the data that you're collecting?
Possibly. That could be something that we do down the line. I know one thing that's in the works now is just the Fitbit data, but that's something that we could do down the line too. Like I said, NIH hasn't really specified everything yet. They seem to get broader every step of the way, so that's possible.
This Framingham study that several of you alluded to, it's all in one town, and so that kind of social networking.
No, but I think they had relationships of each person in the database, how they were related to other people, so that if you happen to associate with people that were overweight, then you had a greater chance of being overweight. And other correlations they found in that data of who each individual was associated with.
Yeah, I'm just thinking that a concentrated smaller study might be easier to do that, but that'd be a very interesting thing to.
Right, and yeah, that's something that they could do, decide to do down the line. Yes?
What about mental health issues? Is that part of this also?
So we don't ask for, when we collect the electronic health record, we're not getting anything from psychologists or psychiatrists. So let's say I go to my psychologist and then she tells me A, B, and C. I go back to my primary care physician and I tell my primary care physician A, B, and C, and he writes it down. That's what we will get. But the conversation that you have with your psychologist or your psychiatrist, we don't get that information. Until you discuss it with your primary care physician, then we'll get it.
And is that true for dental records also?
No.
Not just the x-rays, but I mean.
I don't think so. Yeah. Yes?
Yes, also if the blood test finds out that you're on certain drugs, some may be legal or illegal, will that be on the record?
No, in fact, we have, when we recruit students now and we collect blood and urine, they are like, you're not going to get a clean urine, but we're not, I mean, it's fine. We're not reporting to insurance companies, we're not sharing this data with anyone, so we would prefer participants to be honest because, I mean, that's what's going to help us with this data. And we don't share it with people. So be honest. Any more questions? Yeah.
Once they collect all the numbers that their expectation is, a million people sampling, what is their expectation of the percentage of reliability that they have, that they're going to have?
Well, everyone lies, right?
Well, but they have some idea of expectation.
Right. I don't know. I don't know what their expectations are of that, especially when it comes to you were asking about the drug use and things like that. People may not be honest.
Well, I would think they take that into the corollary. When they figure their algorithm.
When they're doing,
what they plan to do.
Right. When they start doing the statistics on that, yeah, sure. Yeah.
I have a question. What things do you ask about in the surveys?
Can you speak up?
Sorry, yeah. What things do you ask about in the surveys that you give people? Because as any part of your research, in some of my classes, we talk about how the relationships you have over time can have a gigantic impact on your health. If you have good, healthy relationships and you aren't lonely, that can impact your health. Or if you have a sense of belonging and purpose, that can also do things like your telomeres don't get shorter. So are you going to look at things like that?
So those specific questions were asked in the surveys. I remember answering those. So yeah, they do ask that. If you sleep enough, they ask personal questions.
So you talked a lot about various forms of diversity. You also talked about the necessity for electronic health records. So I would imagine there would be certain populations that are skewed to not having insurance regular checkups. How are you taking that into account that they won't necessarily have that data?
Right. A lot of people only go to the doctor to the emergency department when something's wrong. So, yeah, we would just get that data from them. If we can't make it up, right? So it's what's already out there that we can gather from them. And I would think that there are certain populations that don't necessarily always have health insurance. And so I think they would take that into consideration when looking at the data or doing the stats on it, which is true.
Question? You did a great job of fielding a lot of very